Right, snuggle down, little boy. Okay, remember this is like the second episode after the Phantom Menace. Okay, so so now there's a war happening that's going to start, and there's a guy, his name is Count Dooku, and he used to be a Jedi, but now he wants to separate and cause a bit of a ruckus in the galaxy. So things are bad at the moment. And
what's he called? Plute.
No, he's called Count Dooku.
Now?
Yeah. So
was he called in Phantom Menace?
He wasn't in it. He wasn't in it then. Don't think. So anyway, on our way to go to the Jedi Temple, Senator Amidala, who's kind of a leader in the galaxy, gets her spaceship blown up, which is really bad. But luckily she wasn't killed and she was okay. But they realise that she's in great danger and she could be in trouble. So they get Obi-Wan and Anakin Skywalker to look after Padme. Right? So one day they were looking after her in this really fancy hotel, and she went to bed, and the Jedis were standing outside just kind of having a chat, and they were talking about how Anakin was going to be a great Jedi.
That was in Attack of the Clones.
That's what this one is, Attack of the Clones. Yeah. So then this naughty bounty hunter turns up, and he tries to kill Padme by getting some little creatures to open the window and crawl in and kill her while she's asleep. But luckily Anakin and Obi-Wan sense that there's some danger, and they run in, and Anakin goes and kills the little droids that were going to kill Padme. And then they see out of the window that the bounty hunter is still around, or someone is still around, so they have a massive chase through the air, and they drive these cars called like speeder cars or something like that, hover cars, and they fly after this baddie called Zam Wesell. Yeah. And they go into this chase Zam into this bar. Well, before that, they're chasing Zam through the sky, and Anakin jumps out of the car and lands on the baddie's car and tries to get it to crash so that they can arrest Zam. But he crashes onto the floor, and then Zam runs into this bar, and they think, right, let's go in there and get him. And they look around for Zam. They can't see him or her, and in the end they find it, and they run outside, and they're just about to have a chat with Zam and say, right, who's getting you to try and kill Padme? What's going on? Why are you doing this? But from nowhere a bullet comes and kills Zam before he can say anything. This is really annoying for the Jedis, because now they're not going to know who was trying to kill Padme. They really wanted to know. So they go back and investigate where the bullet came from that killed Zam, and Obi-Wan finds out that it's actually made somewhere miles and miles away, out in the middle of nowhere on the outer rim of the galaxy, where no one hardly ever lives. And he says, right, well, I'll go and look over there and try and figure out what's going on, and Anakin, you can look after Padme and make sure that no one kills her. So Anakin basically just gets to go on holiday with Padme in a really lovely place, and and he sort of really likes her and impresses her with all of his Jedi skills. He can like use the Force to feed her a bit of apple and stuff like that, and she thinks that's great. So she's well impressed with him, even though he's a bit younger than her. But he is a powerful Jedi, so he's got a lot going for him. So Obi-Wan goes to this place in the middle of nowhere and just lands his spaceship in the rain and goes in to have a look what's going on. And there's a robot there that tells him and says, hello, are you a Jedi? And Obi-Wan says, yeah, I'm a Jedi, just come to see what's going on. It's not giving the game away at this point. And this robot says, oh yeah, the army's ready, the clone army that you ordered's all sorted. And Obi-Wan's kind of goes along with it and says, yeah, okay, great, can I have a look at it? And this robot takes him through and shows him a massive clone army that's been cloned from Jango Fett. So they got Jango and copied him and made loads of Jangos, so that there's a whole army of them. And Jango Fett is the one that's sort of in charge and hanging around and showing them how to fight and things like that, training the clone army. And his little son is called Boba, and he lives with him in this place, and he's just training this clone army. So it's great. Meanwhile, on the other planet where Anakin's looking after Padme, they realise that they really like each other and they might be together. But she says, look, there's no way we can have a relationship because I'm a senator and you're a Jedi and you're not even allowed to marry anyone. So, it's not going to happen. So, let's just leave it, okay? And then, in the middle of the night, Anakin has a horrible dream that his mum is in trouble. So he says, right, oh no, this is really inconvenient because I'm meant to be protecting you here, but my mum's on Tatooine and she's in real trouble. So I'm getting really stressed out about it. I don't know what to do. And Padme says, well, tell you what, your job is to protect me, isn't it? And follow me around and make sure I don't get killed and stuff. So I'm going to Tatooine. So by doing your job, you've got to follow me, and we'll go there and get your mum and help her. Which is a nice thing, isn't it? So when Padme and Anakin get to Tatooine, they meet Anakin's brother, I think, called Owen, or they're related somehow, I forget, and the other members of the family, and they say, oh no, there's nothing we can do, your mum's been taken away by Tusken Raiders. And Anakin kind of goes over there and says, right, well, I'll go and get her back. I'll try and find her and see if I can get her back. So Anakin creeps into the desert in the middle of the night and finds that the Tusken Raiders have captured his mum, but they've been really horrible to her and she's tied up in a cage. So when he gets in there, he hides and sneaks about, gets into one of their huts, and he finds his mum, but she's really poorly, and she sees him for one last time and says, oh great, Anakin, I'm glad you're learning to be a Jedi and that things are going well, but these sand people have been horrible, and they've kidnapped me and I'm dying now, so it's really bad, but you'll be alright. And Anakin is really angry at this, that these Tusken Raiders have killed his mum. So he goes out into the camp and he kills all the Tusken Raiders, even their little kids, even everyone, even their pets. He just kills everything because he's so angry. And this is the first sign that Anakin might be turning to the dark side, because he's letting himself be angry instead of being a calm Jedi. Because when you learn to be a Jedi, you've got to be calm all the time and use your mind to think instead of your emotions. So Anakin is starting to turn to the dark side, which is bad news. Anyway, Obi-Wan then finds that the clone army has been made on the orders of someone called Count Dooku, I think. Oh no, I got that wrong. Obi-Wan goes to he's on the thing with Jango Fett, isn't he? So a bounty hunter called Jango and Boba is the ones that have made the clone army, and Obi-Wan tries to capture Jango Fett, and they have a big Obi-Wan's got a lightsaber and Jango's got a blaster, and he can fly and hover around. So Obi-Wan says, Jango, come on, you're under arrest, you're coming with me. I want to know what you're up to with this clone army. It doesn't look good. You know, normal people don't just make a big army and for no reason. So it looks like you're probably going to cause a bit of trouble with your clone army. And we're Jedis, we're supposed to keep the peace. So no making armies. Right, you've made a big army. You're coming with me. Well, I'm going to ask you some questions about it. Jango says, no, I'm not coming with you. And he flies off. And Obi-Wan chases him to his spaceship. They have a big fight. Jango tries to shoot Obi-Wan, but he deflects it with his lightsaber. Jango kind of wins the fight a little bit, and because he's so powerful. But Obi-Wan is quite sneaky and clever as well. And as Jango's flying off with his son Boba in his spaceship, Obi-Wan chucks a little tracker device that sticks onto the spaceship to tell Obi-Wan where he is. So Obi-Wan follows Jango's spaceship, but quietly, so that he doesn't know he's there. And so Obi-Wan follows Jango all the way to this other planet called Geonosis. And Obi-Wan is hanging around Geonosis, sneaking around, trying to listen to what's going on. And he finds that this guy Count Dooku, who I was talking about earlier, and he used to be a Jedi, but now he's trying to cause problems in the galaxy. He's making a deal with the Trade Federation leader called Nute Gunray. Remember that green alien goblin type thing from Phantom Menace? Well, him. And they've built a massive army of droids, which is going to cause a problem. And Nute Gunray is the one who tried to kill Padme. So Obi-Wan thinks, oh no, this is going to kick off. I better ring Anakin and get in touch with Yoda and tell everyone what's going on. So Obi-Wan rings Anakin on his mobile and says, right, you've got to get this message to the Jedis, because then they can come and rescue us and try and sort this out. And after he sends that message, Obi-Wan gets captured by Count Dooku and all the bad guys. So this is bad. So because of this and all this trouble, Jar Jar Binks and a couple of the others say, right, we need to sort this so that we can solve this problem. There's a massive droid army. It's going to cause loads of problems. Mace Windu and Yoda say, right, we've got to go and save this, save Obi-Wan and destroy the droid army. But they're thinking, well, how's this possible? What can we do? Who ordered that dodgy clone army? And they don't really know what's going on. No one knows what's going on at this point, and it's all a bit complicated. But anyway, Count Dooku tries to get Obi-Wan to join the dark side of the Force, telling him that really an evil emperor or future emperor called Darth Sidious is really in charge of the Senate. And Obi-Wan says, nah, don't be ridiculous. The Senate's got really good people in it, like Chancellor Palpatine. There's no way that they'd be all evil and stuff and turn to the dark side. Just don't believe you. And if that happened, the Jedis would know about it anyway. So Anakin and Padme, after passing on the message, think it's going to take ages for Yoda and Mace Windu and all the guys and girls of the Jedi Order to get and save Obi-Wan. So he's probably could die. So let's just go and help. And Padme says, yeah, let's do it. That'll be cool. So they go to Geonosis as well. And they they find themselves into this big factory, and they're jumping around on all the machines and trying to kill loads of droids, but sadly for them they get captured as well. This is a really bad situation for them. So Obi-Wan, Anakin and Padme are all tied up to these big pillars, and Count Dooku comes out, and they're in a big stadium, and Dooku's there, Jango Fett's there as well, and all the bad guys are there, Newt Gunray and all those folks, and they try to get Obi-Wan and Anakin and Padme to fight these massive creatures, these horrible big creatures, and they let them loose, and there's loads of droids as well, I think, and they all go into this big stadium, and they're gonna kill Obi-Wan, Padme and Anakin, but luckily they all just escape. They all use the Force, they break the chains. Padme jumps on top of the pillar, and they jump on top of these animals' backs, and Obi-Wan fights this massive creature that looks like a mantis. It like stabs the ground and tries to like get him like this. It pokes him
Like this.
like this.
Like this too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. But luckily Obi-Wan escapes and uses a lightsaber, and then Anakin and Padme jump on the back of this other animal and make the big mantis thing run away. So this is really good, but it's only the beginning. Just as they're about to get killed, Mace Windu turns up with the Jedis, and they start having a massive fight with the droid army. But the problem is Count Dooku's got a huge droid army. There's just hundreds of thousands of them. Robots, they just keep coming, and they surround the Jedi. And this is a really bad situation, and all the Jedis are gonna get killed, including Obi-Wan, Anakin, everybody. But it turns out that Yoda has just thought, well, no one knows who's ordered this clone army, but let's just use it anyway. So Yoda just gives in and says, right, let's use the clones to fight the droids. And he turns up with all the clone army, and they have a massive war breaks out, full on proper war between the droids, who are controlled by the Count Dooku and all the baddies, and the clone army, who's controlled by the good people now. So there's a massive battle, and Count Dooku thinks, oh no, it's all kicking off, I better escape, and he runs off, and Anakin and Obi-Wan and Padme chase him in a massive spaceship, and Padme ends up jumping out of it to save someone else or something. I can't remember what she does, but anyway, Obi-Wan and Anakin carry on, and they chase after Count Dooku, and Count Dooku runs into this cave where he tries to hide at first, and then he realizes, hang on a minute, what am I hiding for? I'm the most powerful lightsaber person around. Nobody can beat me. So Obi-Wan and Anakin go to fight Count Dooku, but he fights them both at the same time because he's just so tough. It's a big lightsaber battle, probably one of the harshest lightsaber fights ever. And Count Dooku injures Obi-Wan, and I think he uses the Force to throw him onto the floor and bash a big pillar onto him, and so he's stuck. And then he's fighting Anakin, and guess what? He cuts Anakin's hand off. Ah! Right there. Ah! Imagine having no hand. So Anakin's just standing there going, ah! I got no hand! This is really bad. And then he thinks, no, Count Dooku's definitely going to win now. I've only got one hand. Obi-Wan's lying on the floor over there. Got no chance. But luckily, guess who turns up? Do you know? Have you not seen it? The film? I thought I showed it to you, but I fell asleep.
I know.
Who?
The one who said, "What are you doing? My home visits."
Yeah. Yoda turns up and he hobbles along with his walking stick. And he says to Count Dooku something like, "Annoying you have been. Hurt my friends you have. Get you I will." And he jumps up with his lightsaber and he fights Count Dooku, and it's such a really ferocious fight. Yoda just jumps around all over the place. He's got a green lightsaber and he's like spinning around. Dooku's trying to get him, but Yoda won't let him get him. He's gonna keep fighting. And then Count Dooku thinks, actually, this little green guy is actually really strong. I thought he was going to be easy meat. I thought I was just going to kick his head off. But Yoda's too strong and too powerful for Dooku to fight. So Count Dooku, because he's a sneaky devil, he just thinks, right, I'll distract Yoda and then I'll escape. So he makes a massive big load of rocks go to fall on Obi-Wan while he's lying down asleep, injured. And so Yoda has to concentrate and fight really hard to use the Force to keep the rocks off of Obi-Wan. And while he's doing that, Count Dooku just runs away and escapes, which is really annoying. So anyway, Count Dooku meets up with Darth Sidious and Darth Sidious says, "Ha ha ha, I'm really happy that the war has begun as planned." And back on the Jedi planet, Obi-Wan goes and tells the Jedi Council all about Count Dooku, and said that what Count Dooku said was a bit worrying to him, that Darth Sidious is controlling the Senate. And everyone just doesn't believe it. They just say, no, again. There's no way that Darth Sidious is controlling the Senate, because the Senate's led by that really nice man, Chancellor Palpatine. And he's good, isn't he? So there's no way that Darth Sidious is in charge of it. So they decide, Yoda and meets with Mace Windu, and they say, oh, something's going on here.
Yeah, Sidious is Palpatine.
Yeah, well, you know that, and I know that, but all the Jedis in the film don't know that at this point. They think Palpatine's still a nice person. So at the end, now that the wars have begun, the bad thing is that Palpatine has been put in charge of the massive clone war, you know, the ones that look a bit like stormtroopers. And that's bad news, isn't it? Because in the future, if he just uses that army to take over the galaxy, because they're a lot like stormtroopers, aren't they, then he might become the future emperor of the whole galaxy, which would be really annoying. But hopefully that won't happen, will it? Because next episode, I reckon Anakin and Obi-Wan and Mace Windu will get Palpatine and beat him, maybe. Hopefully.
But Darth Vader does that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well. Oh, what, later? Yeah, so something bad must happen in between. So, that is the end of this one. And the bad thing, what happens in between, I'll tell you about, because that is in episode 3, which is called Revenge of the Sith. But that's the end of the Clone Wars, because all the Clone Wars have started and they're fighting. Palpatine's in charge of the clone army, and Count Dooku's in charge of the droid army, and there's huge wars going ahead, and Anakin and Obi-Wan are going to fight in the war, and all the other Jedis are going to fight in the war, and it's going to be a really tough time, but hopefully it'll all come good. That's the end.
And Revenge of the Sith, it goes bad.
Yeah. What do you think happens in Revenge of the Sith to make it go bad? You probably know a bit of it from the Lego game.
Darkside. Anakin Darkside.
Yeah. It's going to be a bit annoying, isn't it? Because he could have just been on the good side and they would have won. Well, I'll tell you all about that one in the next story, okay? Now it's time for you to go to sleep. Night night, little boy. Love you.
Sharpie, I was his head off.